All right, good to go.
I think we're ready.
All right. Well, good evening, and appreciate everybody's patience tonight. First of all, will Renee please show all board members present tonight? And if you would, join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next item is the approval of the agenda tonight. Are there any changes? All right, with none, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Satterley.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. All in favor? All right, be 7-0. Thank you. Dr. Mellon, no public comments on agenda items tonight? Okay. And next is the board planning goals and strategies. I think we have an update on the college and career readiness partnership update.
And board, if you don't mind, I'd like Mr. Hare and his team to be able to make that presentation.
Don't be shy, come on up here. They want the team, they've heard me. Well, good evening, board. Thanks, Dr. Mellon. Wanted to kind of bring you up to speed a little bit on what we've been doing with the college and career readiness plan, and quite honestly, we could talk about this for a couple of days. We have really hit this hard. We've made a lot. Dr. Mellon's made several presentations. The folks behind me, Christy Steller's made some presentations. We've been all over the place and literally all over the state. I think this thing has gotten a little bit bigger than even what Dr. Mellon and I thought, and it's really exciting. It's really exciting being on the ground floor. We wanted to stick with the format, board, that you're familiar with. This looks very similar to the strategic plan and also the multicultural plan. And what we did, you know, we have a college and career readiness advisory, and we have them broken into three groups. The work ethic certification, which you're familiar with, partnerships, and then the how to development, the public relation aspect of this. I'm going to make a second presentation tonight and talk about the work ethic certification. So I wanted to, I'll save that for the second piece and really want to talk about the partnerships. But before I go into that, I do want to talk about the first couple of action steps. Renee, if you just go up to the top there for me with the work ethic certification. You know, we have developed that work ethic certification and the checklist. Daniel has done a great job producing a video, and we're going to share that with you, with the board here in a little bit. And Christy Steller, Dr. Mellon, we've been out to present to all of the seniors at all three high schools talking about the work ethic certification. We've had a tremendous amount of seniors that have signed up that said they're interested and committed into trying to get the work ethic certification. We had as a target goal that we wanted 100% of our seniors to at least apply or fill out or show the interest. We didn't quite get 100%. We're still working on kind of tracking down a few more of them. And then we said, you know, if 30% of our seniors can qualify for this, that's going to be huge. And you might say, well, how did you come up with the 30%? What we did was we took a look at the senior class last year and we ran it with all of the criteria that we put in place this year, your GPA, your attendance, and those types of things. And it was about 27% of the seniors last year for the corporation would have qualified just based on that criteria for the work ethic certification. So we've got a target of 30%. For this year, that would obviously be our baseline, and then we'll work hard moving forward. Again, there's a separate section in tonight's board meeting where we're going to talk just about the work ethic certification, and we've got a presentation on that I want to share with you. But this portion, want to really talk about the work that the two folks behind me have been doing. Jeannie Noem is the College and Career Coordinator at Charlestown and New Washington, and Michael Denny is the College and Career Coordinator at Jeffersonville High School. And these two folks, they have just hit the ground running since school started. They have over 127 meetings with different corporations since school started. And their goal is to meet with 300 corporations or businesses by July of 2015. And I will tell you, they're on pace. I can't keep up with them. I call them all the time. Where are you? Well, we're at this meeting. We're heading to that. And I want to share with them. Will you go to the PowerPoint? Kind of share with the board what we're trying to do. To date, we have 38 formalized partnerships. Our goal will be to have 150 formalized partnerships where we're either doing job shadows, or what else would we be doing? Job shadows, internships, co-ops. See, they just take off. So all kinds of different things that they're working on. And then in January of 2015, when we come back for the second semester, our goal is to have 50 internships for our kids in the high schools to do that. Right now, we have about 18 positions that are ready to be filled, and it's really the hard work that these guys have done. We put together a little bit of the PowerPoint, and this is very short, but wanted to just kind of share some overall numbers with you, with the board. To date, through the college and readiness, college and career readiness centers, we've had over 50 colleges, university, militaries, or business representatives combined as a district. And I will tell you, I worked on this early this week, and I think Jeannie sent me an update this morning, and we're probably closer to 60 now. And over 700 students have signed in to visit with those representatives, and when I added those numbers to it this morning, it's closer to 800 kids. So it's 800 kids who are not just meeting with their counselors, their guidance counselors, they're also coming in to the college and career centers, and they're meeting with a separate college, a university. We've had businesses come in, the military, so they're actually getting that individual attention as seniors that we want. One of the things that we have been talking about for second semester is to actually log the kids that are coming in for whatever reason. They may just come in because they have a question. They may have some information that they're trying to get for an internship, a scholarship, a college, a university. So starting the second semester, we're going to log those students and actually track how many kids are visiting the College and Career Center on a daily basis. We'll do it weekly, and then we'll combine that information for monthly visits so that we can share with you exactly how many kids we're reaching with these college and career centers. We have again 38 partnerships that are formalized. We could talk about all 38 of them. All 38 of them are important. There are none that are more important than the others. But there were three that kind of stood out that are unique, or what Jeannie just said. These are our big ticket. These are our big ones. And I want these guys to come up and kind of share with you, because it's kind of exciting what these three partners are going to bring to the table. So I'll let Michael talk for a little bit. Jeannie, jump in there.
Well, I think the first thing I could say about the partnership work, it has been extremely positive. I cannot convey to you how receptive our community has been. We've been out on 127 meetings. We've only been told no one time, and Jeannie's convinced that we can get that person on board with a second visit. The other thing about partnerships, when you see the number of meetings, you see the number of partnerships, they don't match right now because most of the partnerships require 2 or 3 meetings. And I'll give you an example. Niece Lukens actually reached out to us as a team. We met with Dr. Mellon and some others, and then Jeannie and I went and did a follow-up meeting. So they're going to partner with us not only from their own company, but he is actually, Mr. Stocksdale, whom we met with, is actually putting together a list of other people. He's putting together a network for us of people that he knows that he thinks would buy in to the program that we're putting in place. So that kind of meeting will probably net not just one partnership for us, but we could conceivably get 10 or 15 different businesses and organizations from that one. The second one, Clark Memorial. I guess what's most unique about that, when I went down to meet with Martin Padgett and his vice president for HR, you're thinking medical internships, medical partnerships. After our meeting, it was pretty apparent we're not only looking at medical, we're looking at kids that can go in and do IT, we're looking at their food service component, we're looking at kids that could be going into HVAC, public relations, and tentatively, they've shared with us probably 40-plus departments that we may be able to partner with in some way. And we're doing the hospital out in Charlestown as well, so we're reaching out to the medical community on a pretty broad base right now. Our third one I wanted to mention is Walsh Vinci Construction. I put the Vinci in there because when I went to meet with them, I'm thinking it's one bridge project. During the conversation, I was made aware that Walsh by itself is doing the downtown bridge, and Walsh Vinci Partnership is doing the East End Bridge. So we have met with them. The partnership's not complete. We were in communication with them today. They will meet with their top management October 28th, and they'll be back in touch with us to see what we can finalize on that. Thought one of the neatest activities that we're hoping we can do with them, we can't actually take the kids into the tunnel on the Kentucky side. They won't let us take kids in there and wander around. But we did talk with one of their engineers, and he felt like if we could get a vantage point, we could bring a targeted field trip over there, 20, 25 kids, be able to take them out there, and along with visual aids and being able to see the actual tunnel, they could walk them through the process of how that project takes place and what it looks like from beginning to end. And like Travis said, we could talk, every partnership is unique. Whether it's a one-person operation up to a company the size of Walsh Venture. They're all very unique. They bring something special to our kids. I went to a meeting this afternoon with the hope of maybe getting one internship, and as we worked through and we kind of networked and he led me from one part of the organization to the other, we left with 4 commitments. And so it's been very, very positive. I'm going to let Jeannie come up. She's going to talk with you a little bit about some of our bigger ticket items that we participate. We meet with individual businesses, but we also network with larger groups. I'm going to ask Jeannie to talk about that. Thank you.
I'm not going to use the mic. I think I can talk loud enough without that thing. We started off in August at the 10th Street Business Expo. We went to that on August 7th, and we met there at that location. It was a huge event. It was about 6 hours long, and we walked away with 40 contacts, 40 business cards. So from that time on, Michael and I have been chasing down all 40 of those individuals, working on those. So that's been quite a task, and that was a huge impact that gave us such a running board to spring off of and to start these partnerships. We then went on in September on the 18th. Dr. Mellon spoke at the Charlestown Chamber of Commerce Luncheon, and that was a wonderful event that we partnered with Aramark, and we catered the luncheon for them. They were very, very receptive of that. There's 60 members in the Charlestown Chamber of Commerce, and I estimated there were probably 40 members were there, and we garnered 10 new contacts from that meeting. So that was huge. Now, you might think 10 is not a lot, but then we also met with several of the other partnerships that we previously contacted, and the energy from that day springboarded into additional meetings, and we actually have 3 internships from that one. So that's huge. On October the 2nd, Jeffersonville High School hosted the College and Career Night, and we had 10 new contacts from that night. Not only were colleges were there, businesses were there as well. So I had a meeting with Restonic, or have scheduled a meeting with Restonic, and that's one of the new ones that I'm hoping to get an internship for. On October 16th last week, on Thursday, we had the Charlestown Chamber of Commerce job fair at the Clark County Fairgrounds. And there were 35 booths, and we made another 10 new contacts at that location. So as these new contacts keep going, Michael and I keep dividing them up, and we make contacts and call and set up meetings and develop partnerships, not only for internships and co-ops, but for our advisory boards, for job shadows, for teacher externships. The response from the community has just been open arms. They are so ready for this. They are ready for us to come. They're ready for us to produce a product for them that will fill their workforce. And the one that we're going to this week is the One Southern Indiana Business Expo. That business to business is from noon to 6. And I believe there are over 100 booths. What did you tell me, Renee? 120 booths set up, so that will be wonderful. These are just really exciting possibilities, connections that we can create for our students so that we can connect them and secure for them post-secondary opportunities. Once they leave us, they will either had an internship, a co-op, a job shadow. They've got a plan. They are either going to some sort of educational, whether it's 4-year, 2-year, whether they're going into the military, whether they're going into an apprenticeship, or just a 40-hour-a-week job. We want them to have a plan. this is just such an exciting thing. I think it's just a wonderful thing that the school board has gotten behind, and I'm very thankful for that. All right, I'll stop talking.
No, you're fine. There's a lot. Go ahead. Jeannie mentioned Manufacturing Day. We wanted to share a little bit, a couple of just some pictures. These are some of our, these are some of our students at Amitral, and that's Mr. Perkins, Paul Perkins, the president, the owner of the company, and he took our kids on a tour, and I will tell you that Dr. Mel and I, we were talking, you know, I don't think people understand how big that company is in the manufacturing world globally, and the opportunity of our kids to see the president and the different machines and manufacturing and the different things that they do there and the different trainings that they do really was exciting. And I talked to a couple of their employees, and our kids are starting, and it's not a bunch, but they're starting to they've been on enough of these field trips, they've heard enough where they're starting to ask questions. And to see the kids interact with the president and ask questions that made sense and that kind of, oh, that's a good question. It's really getting exciting on the interaction of that. So go ahead, Renee. You know, we had over 100 students tour different local manufacturers. Want to just share a couple of pictures there with you. Michael, you want to talk a little bit about the manufacturer, and then the next one, Renee, put the next one up. I want to kind of talk about the next one more. Yeah, talk to them about that.
Well, Manufacturing Day, we had kids, it was National Manufacturing Day. We sent out over 100 kids. We had kids at Amitral. We were invited into Key Electronics. We went out to S&J Precision. We had kids got to go to our electromechanical research labs. We got to go to Kentucky Hardwoods and another one of the veneer companies over there, and Owens Patterns out in Charlestown. So we got our kids out to see actually what's going on. They got to take tours, and I guess some of the most fascinating things, the kids that we took to ERL, you know, they're seeing the manufacturing place, and if you're not familiar with them, they do a lot of stuff for the barge industry. Jeff Boat makes the barges, these folks make the gauges, they make the hatches, they make everything that goes on there for the safety features, and they take it from raw metal to the finished product in that one place. But the most unique thing that really got the kids' interest was when they took them in and showed them the custom Corvette engine that they were doing. So when they took them in and showed them that, and showed them the work they do for race drivers and stuff, and how they bring in and manufacture those engine blocks and stuff, really got the kids' attention. They were beginning then to kind of make some connections with that. We also got to go down. Samtec has partnered with a company called Velocity, and they've put together a trailer called Mobile Maker, and Jeannie and I got to go downtown. It's just recent in action. What you see there, the two statues were made from one of the lasers in the Mobile Maker, and they programmed that in. That's actually layers of cardboard that are assembled by hand, but when they put in the sections of cardboard and they program it, the laser will go in and it will actually cut each piece of cardboard, but it won't cut just one design out of it. It will cut to maximize the use of the product. And then it marks them with a number and marks them with a little arrow, so that when you take all those pieces out, it's very easy to assemble. And we're hoping to have, when we take some of our kids out, we're going to try to get the Mobile Maker brought over to one of our schools. We're taking our counselors out to see that and just to try to get the information out. The other thing that we're coordinating through the college and career centers, and then I'll be quiet, are targeted field trips. We've taken all of the Jeff High seniors pretty much to junior achievement already through their business finance park for a simulation activity. We've got kids going to Amitral next week. We'll send a second group to Amitral in the spring. We've got kids going to Your Community Bank next month. We'll do IUS. We looked into a new job shadow with AT&T this year, and we will be able to take probably 40 to 60 of our at-risk kids to AT&T for a job shadow and some of the follow-up that goes with that. And those are great activities because those are targeted groups of kids. They're not just field trip kids. They're picked for a specific reason to go out and participate in those activities. So JA is a great partner with us in that. So with that, I will step aside, but it's very, very exciting what's going on out there and the reception we're getting in the community. So thank you.
These are just, thanks, Michael. Jeannie, thank you. These are just a couple more pictures, and then we've talked about, go ahead, Renee. We've talked about the different partnerships. We talked about the College of Career Night. We had over 55 vendors, and Michael and Jeannie put those together for us. It's just an extension of what our guidance counselors can do, and really excited about that. One more. We talked about, I labeled this field work, and why did I say this? Michael and Jeannie have done a great job, and I hope you see when it's 100 different businesses, it kind of, this thing kind of grows legs, because one minute we're talking about manufacturing, and it's IT, and it's medical, and it's all these different, but it's going to give all of our kids a different opportunities to really make this individualized for our seniors. They have done a tremendous job organizing this, getting these connections. Our next step will be putting the kids in place for the second semester. And what we've got to do is now we're starting to work with our administrators and our counselors. And I've shared with you before, we've taken the counselors on field trips. We're taking the administrators on field trips to see these different manufacturing companies. We've got a day coming up where we're going to take the counselors to Samtec. We're going to take them out to River Ridge and see what the opportunities are, then to see what we can do out at IUS for lunch, and then we'll end up at S&J Precisions. And S&J Precisions is a partnership that we're really excited about. S&J Precisions offers, and a lot of these places offer tuition reimbursement. But we met with one of the presidents of the company, sat right down and said, I need to hire kids that are ready, and when they're ready, I'll give them tuition assistance to Vincennes University. They can have, I'll reimburse the 2 years at Vincennes. So we've lined up a field trip in February. We're going to take 40 kids that would fit their mold to Vincennes and show them what the college is. So it really starts to blend together with that, with the careers and the colleges and where they need to be so that they are successful post-secondary. And this is going to be the work that we're going to have our counselors and administrators do. So that is starting to gear up. So I wanted to share that with you as well. So yes, I know that's a lot. There's a lot to this. These guys are real go-getters. We've got a great team. We meet every other week. Dr. Mellon's met with us several times, but certainly if there are any specific questions, we'll do the best to answer them or thoughts.
Next time you go get the little bust of one of those guys made, let me know. I'll go with you. I'd like to do that.
Okay. We'll do it. Certainly, you're welcome anytime.
It's kind of neat.
I've followed a lot of things in education, and what we're doing here with this college and career readiness, we are way ahead of, I know the state is pushing this and as part of the curriculum and all that, but we are positioned so well, and I'm very excited about what you two are doing with Travis's direction. And you seem to be getting all the components in there, and that's great. A lot, you've got the teachers and the counselors involved, and of course the students, but that's really exciting. I'll go with him too.
You're certainly welcome anytime.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Sorry.
Well, I wasn't going to let you get away that easy,
That's all right. I'm
so.
coming back, so you're going to get an encore.
No, I just, and first of all, fascinating work, and thanks for all you're doing. A question I have is, when you're out at these locations doing, the meetings and all, do you work on a sort of a skills matrix that says, okay, maybe we're not going to hire you today, because obviously you're still in high school, maybe a junior, whatever, but do they begin to build a skills matrix to say, if you are indeed interested in this kind of work, here are the skills you need to work with to get there?
They give us a short summary of what the work, the job that they're going to have for the kid in the internship.
Mm-hmm.
And when the kids come in, and then each kid will have a learning plan. They will have targets that are set up. They'll be part of their packet.
Mm-hmm.
It goes with the internship, from their application to the learning plan, the parent part of signing off on the evaluation piece. So you get sent, and the internships vary.
Mm-hmm.
Some, the kids may go from 5 or 6 different entities within the organization to get a kind of a broad-based look at it. Others will be more targeted. They write the job description, the skill set that the kids need to write to.
Yeah, and I was sort of thinking about maybe the state police, for instance, where a senior may come out at 18 years old, but you really can't become a trooper until you're 21. So what kind of things can you get into between that period, between 18 and 21? I know, dispatching or working at the jail or those kind of things, but I was wondering if they provided those type of tools to you so that you can begin to work towards that if that's something you really want to do.
I think one of our hopes is that we're developing, as you know, we have 4 major pathways that students choose. But what we're now going to be doing, I've asked Travis to work with his team to develop pathways within those pathways. So that if a student, for example, in the business, information technology, and logistics pathway, they want to be in business, then here's a pathway that starts from the time they're in high school that goes all the way through that career acceptance. If it's IT, if it's in logistics, here are the specific pathways. And there are different pathways. For example, you have some kids in the engineering technology areas. Some students may want to take a pathway that would lead for them to get a 4-year degree in engineering. But there are also great pathways that would lead into more of a skilled trades approach in a manufacturing environment that pays anywhere from $75,000 to $150,000 a year. It doesn't require a 4-year degree. It requires a 2-year degree or some other form of certification. So what we're trying to do for the benefit of our kids and our counselors is here are these pathways, and depending upon the specific skills and interests of each student, here is the best approach for that student. So we're trying to build those pathways currently.
Mr. Pay, you bring up a great example because at the vendor fair, we had our SROs did a table for us for law enforcement. That's the first time we'd ever had that. And on that Vincennes trip, Michael and I talked, we're going to take 5 or 10 kids that may have an interest in law enforcement because they can do that at Vincennes and take those kids with us. So, I think your point is that's exactly the types of things we're having those conversations. And I will tell you, we're having those conversations for the first time because it's what Ms. Perkins said. Typically, we've talked about those kids that went into vocational, went to Prosser, and now we're talking about all kids. And a kid that's at the top, that wants to be an engineer or wants to go to Yale. Dr. Mel and I have had this conversation. Wants to go to Yale to be a CPA, only to get to Yale and realize I don't want to be a CPA. At least we can give them those experiences to find out before they get there what they're doing. So, and those are conversations that occurred for our lower level kids, but this is really reaching all levels of kids, right? That's fair.
Well, thank you for what you do. I was able to look at the center up at Jeffersonville, and it's very impressive. I haven't been to Charlestown yet, but some great work being done out there, so thank you.
Well, and the board, you're aware we've gotten a grant from the United Way, and we've got that furniture on the way. When we do, we'll have open houses at all places. So certainly we'll invite the board to come out and see that.
Blank here. All right, and we don't have any items for policy review today. So we'll go to the budget report. So the next item is the fund monitoring report.
Okay.
Dr. Deichel.
We're still holding our own. We're doing good. If I can bring you to the 175 here in December on the expenditure, that's a transfer. That's where we're paying back half of the $350,000 that we borrowed for Project Lead the Way equipment out of the rainy day fund. And when we get to the rainy day fund, you'll see the deposit going in there. So we're looking at an ending balance of about $3.7 million December 31st. So we're doing pretty good there. Okay. Debt service, we really didn't have anything, or pension debt, any activity for those two. But when you look at capital projects, we're still looking at 1.1 million here, and again, it depends on the 779,000 for the circuit breaker. We're just being very careful how we spend our money. We don't want to overwork on something and then have to take it out later, so we're being very careful as far as what we're doing. But we're doing pretty good on CPF. Transportation operating is my problem child. It could get hit with $556,000 of tax caps, and if it does, we'll be about $162,000 in the red, which we'll have to borrow from the rainy day fund to balance it out. we'll see what the tax caps will be. It'll be right at the very end of the year. Bus replacement fund, we're doing fine here. 119,000 in tax caps. We should end up with about 191,000 cash at the end of the year, but that's going to be eaten up because we're going to have to buy 2 buses that were destroyed in the wreck. So that's $135,000. And then we're going to look to apply for a grant through the EPA where maybe we can get some of the minibuses replaced. We can get up to, I think, a minimum of about $15,000 per minibus. So we might be able to squeak out 2, maybe 2.5 minibuses. Maybe it won't have wheels, but we'll get the rest of it or something. So, huh?
Don't put any kids on those hats.
Yeah.
And then the last one is the rainy day fund, and you can see, oh, go up a little bit. There's the 175 that we're going to pay back, and that'll bring the balance back up to $3.5 million right here. So overall, we're doing pretty good on our cash flows, and we're monitoring the money. We're being careful as far as how we spend it. We've added more staff this year, and we're still doing pretty good. So we're very happy. So if there's any questions.
All right, thank you, Dr. Dykel.
Okay.
Next is our earmark update. So Ms. Turner, I think, is going to take us through that.
Good evening, Board. Thank you. So our update for September, we're going to start off with talking about a little bit of our menu engineering that we have done over the summer to follow through. Hopefully you guys enjoyed your board dinner tonight because that's one of our new items that we're actually serving out to our kids. After we did the survey to our kids last year, these are some of the things that they told us that they wanted to see out into our school buildings. So went on board with our chef and tried to engineer some of our recipes to get the kids of what they want. Tonight you were served an orange chicken bowl with vegetable fried rice. We've added a fresh fruit and yogurt plate with a muffin and cheese sticks. We've also added chicken and ham jambalaya. We've added meatloaf and barbecue drumsticks with mac and cheese. So as you can see, some of the favorite items that kids like on a daily basis, and we're incorporating those in, which as you'll see a little bit later has kind of helped us increase our meal counts per day. Our catering continues to grow. As the presentation before said, we partnered with the College and Career Readiness Program. We also participated with a few Jeffersonville community events, including the Hops, Shops, and Chardonnay, where we handed out hors d'oeuvres to the public and let them know that we're in the building, in all of our buildings here at Greater Clark, and that we partner with Greater Clark to feed our students. Chuck has grown our catering a little bit, excuse me, over $5,000 this year based off of what we did at this time last year. So we continue to grow that and put money back into Greater Clark's food service funds. And as we continue to enhance our employee morale for September, we have recognized Diana Rivera of Parkwood Elementary as our Manager of the Month, and then Debbie Bohannon as our Employee of the Month, and she's out of Maple Elementary. So we awarded those today, and they get a certificate and whatnot that just shows that we appreciate the work that they've done. Diana has led with example. She every day does display plates. She samples the food with our kids, so when the kids come in, they know what they're ordering and they know what they're going to eat when they go back to their tables. Debbie is an employee that's been with Greater Clark for a while, and she's kind of come and she's kind of gone. I think we found her niche over at Maple Elementary, where she has stepped up with 100% attendance rate. Debbie has not missed a day of work this year, which for us is a very good thing. We still struggle with that a little bit. So I think our Employee of the Month programs is helping boost that morale. And so we appreciate her a great deal, as her manager was out a few days with some health problems, and she was able to step right in and proceed with no hiccups, so to speak. So we're proud of our 2 Employee of the Month people for September. As you can see, just a quick financial update. As we continue to increase our profit loss every year, we are up $8,000 over where we were at the end of September last year. And that is due to our meal count growth. For breakfast, we're about 210 meals per day. As you can see, last year at this time, we had 39 service days, and this year we have 44. So we do have a few extra service days that help that growth as well. So I broke it down with our meal counts. Breakfast is up 210 meals per day, and lunch is up 220 meals per day. So that goes back to our survey that we did and getting our kids the food that they want. And that shows in our meal counts. That's all I have. I'm quick tonight.
Nice job.
It's been pointed out, I'm long-winded, so I apologize.
Well, it wasn't any of us, so.
No, no.
All right, any questions for Ms. Turner?
Did have a chance to try your jambalaya.
Did you? Did you like it?
Charlotte, it was very, very good.
Good, good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Turner.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
All right, next item is the audit results. Dr. Dykman, you're up again.
I want you to know, I timed her one time.
Last time you.
No, you don't have to.
Okay,
Go, you're
Um,
fine.
go, we're
Okay.
Yeah.
This will be a little bit longer than Natalie's. I'm not as good as New Albany Floyd. I will admit it. We had some minor problems, as I would say, on our audit, and we've got them all corrected. And what we do is, I meet with them once a week when they're here, and it seems like they were here for such a long time. But anytime they find anything wrong or we're not doing something per procedure, we go ahead and correct it right away, even though they'll write us up for it, but at least that way we're showing them that we are here to correct the problem and make sure we go forward from here on out. So just to give you some idea, some of the reasons that we were written up, and we had an exit conference, Dr. Mellon, Mr. Pavey, and I, Joni Roberts, all met with the auditors, and we went over the whole audit and everything. So, I mean, it's nothing real bad. It's just minor things. Like reporting and testing provisions. In food service, we had one confidential secretary who was reviewing the applications, and we have to audit 3% of them. She did not have anybody also auditing them with her, and we were not always being consistent in how we were auditing them. Sometimes we would take gross wages, sometimes we would take net wages, sometimes we didn't include, if somebody had money coming from child care, or what do you call it, where you have to pay for child support. All of that has to be included. So, Natalie and I sat down with the secretary and trained her as far as what she has to look for. One of the things that I always did was charge part of my time to other funds. Any fund that I represent, I oversee capital projects, food service, and transportation, so I charge part of my salary to all of those. The auditors want me to record daily what do I do in food service. So I have to have a log now. I have an Excel spreadsheet which shows how many hours I work in food service, transportation, general fund, and transportation, and then I give a brief description as far as what I do. So when they come in 2 years from now, I'll give them my sheet and we'll do that.
Are you the official taster? Is that what
Yes.
you-
Oh, yeah. That's usually once a week.
That'd be good.
The other thing that we always do is I've always charged food service for custodial charges. When they're in the cafeteria cleaning up, during lunchtime, I always charge them there, so they want to make sure on a timesheet that the custodian puts down how many hours they're working in food service. Not a big deal. So we modified the timesheet to show a column for food service, so we've got that taken care of. Another one that they zinged us on was when we turn in our state grants for reimbursement. Tammy and Carla in my office, they sit down with the various directors and they meet with them prior to filling in the application for the reimbursement. Well, now they want the director to sign off on it. Not a big deal, so we did that. Let's see. Some other things that they found, we had a teacher quality state grant, and we weren't charging the people correctly to it. So we said human resource staff is responsible for maintaining the position control report. The grant director will send a list of employees chargeable to that fund to HR, so we make sure that we get them coded correctly. So that was just a minor thing. One thing, we don't charge any of our grants for indirect costs. I feel like it's just taking money away from the grant that could be used for the kids or something for our administrative fees. So, you know, they just made a comment that we don't charge indirect costs.
Has that been is that something new, or is that something we've always done in this corporation?
Well, I don't know how long we haven't been doing it. At least the last 4 years, we haven't charged indirect costs to the grants. So, one of the things that they always write us up on is negative balances. And I'm here long enough where I could remember where we used to say, okay, when we would get a grant, say Title I, we'd say, okay, we want half the money January or in August, the other half in January, and then we had the cash balance to do it. Then they came back several years later and said, no, we can't do that. They realized they were losing money on interest. So they said, you can only get 1/12 of it every month. Okay, so we sent out the application saying we want 1/12 of the grant. Well, then I said, well, that's not really good either. So now they came back and said, you spend your money first, then ask for reimbursement. So the 15th and the 30th of the month, we ask for reimbursement. So we're always in the negative. So they have to write it up to show that we're always in the negative. One was on special ed, because we're the LEA for the co-op. They just want to make sure that West Clark and Clarksville are instructed to set up their portion of the grant awards that we give them so that they can at least monitor those also. So Ann's already talked to that. So that was it as far as the corporation goes. They didn't look at any of the extracurricular. They don't have enough auditors to even look at extracurricular. I look at the extracurricular every summer, and we had 3 schools that I didn't have any citations for, which is good out of 19 that we have, including Gordon Porter. Some of the notations that I look at, and they've been really good. I mean, compared to the first year when I got here, high schools would be 2 pages long of questions, problems that I would see. They've really come down. Notations that I would show, I see that you're losing money in a fundraiser. Why? Do you still have product outstanding? Do you still have cash coming in? Things like that. Or your profit seems low. I know if you buy M&Ms for 50 cents, sell it for $1, so you spend $500, you should have $1,000 in sales, ideally. If you have a large balance in the bookstore, you know, bookstore money should be spent on bookstore items, pencils, papers, things of that nature. And if they have a large balance, then what I tell them to do is transfer that money out by writing a check, send it to student activities, so then all kids have access to that money. Coding expenditures to incorrect funds. That's what I see periodically, and that's not a big deal. I'll address that. One thing that always bothers me is when I see a large deposit coming in one day. They have a fundraiser, and you'll get $3,000 in one day. And I keep telling them, please make sure the teacher is not holding that money in their classroom, because we don't want it stolen. You know, deposit the money with the bookkeeper every day. Don't hold it. Equipment purchased from extracurricular not approved by the school board. I always look at that. I have a list, everything that gets approved by the school board. I keep a list when I go back to their reports in the summertime. I look to make sure it's been approved by the school board. Comments are coming down. We meet with the bookkeepers every year at the beginning of the school year, and we go over all the problems that I've seen, so they know that. Any new bookkeepers we have, we now have a mentoring program. We've hooked them up with another bookkeeper, more experienced, usually elementary to elementary, middle school to middle school. And IASBO, or my association, they have training once a year for new bookkeepers, so we encourage them to go there. So that's kind of what's happened on our audit. So, any questions?
Just for the record, it was 30 pages long, and I did read it. Was I supposed to do that? Because it was a real pain in the neck.
A lot of it's all the financial stuff that they have to put in there.
Okay.
Hey, Tom, on athletic events, after the night of the event, is the money put in a safe at school and next business day turned over to the bank, or is it in a night depository? that night?
I don't want to say out loud, out in
Okay.
public. I can talk to you later about that. So, but they're not
I
supposed to keep.
remember speaking about that, and I didn't know which way you wanted to go. So just
Technically,
refresh my
they shouldn't be
memory.
holding money in a class, in a school. It should be deposited, so. But does it always happen? I can't be honest to say yes.
Board, one of the things that I'd just like to add is, in the time I've been a superintendent, I've not had a chief financial officer like Tom who does an internal audit of extracurricular accounts to the level or degree that he does. And I do read every email that he sends to each building's bookkeeper that gives a report. He always compliments them on things that they're doing well. He's also always very constructive in whatever criticisms or areas that are in need of improvement. So that's something that the public doesn't always see. But I've not had a CFO that's gone to the level of commitment that Dr. Dykle has in that regard. And so I think you can feel very confident in what he's trying to do on a continual basis to not only make sure that the money is there that we need to have for our kids, but that the internal controls are also there to make sure that we're handling the dollars appropriately.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Dykle. All right, next item is student achievement, work ethic. Mr. Harris, thanks, going to take us through that.
Let's do the video first. Okay. Board, I think we've got a couple things here. We'll talk about the work ethic certification, and I want to show you the presentation that we've been giving to the seniors. We've also shown all of the seniors this video that Daniel's put together, so I'd like to start with the video. It's about a 4-minute video, and it talks about the importance of the soft skills and what the work ethic certification is all about.
Hi, my name is Wendy Dant-Chesser, and I am the president of One Southern Indiana. One Southern Indiana is the Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development entity for Clark and Floyd counties. We work with the existing businesses that are here, and we also market our community to new businesses. A lot of what we market is the workforce, both to the companies that have already made the investment here and those companies that are looking at the area.
Hi, I'm Paul Perkins, president of Amatrol. Amatrol is a manufacturer in Jeffersonville, Indiana that manufactures technical training systems for colleges and universities as well as e-learning software. The work ethic certificate represents some of the most important qualities Amatrol looks for in its employees. Qualities like showing up on time, having a good attitude, working hard, treating others with respect, and not giving up when they encounter obstacles. Our best employees are often employees who don't have the most talent, but ones that have good talent and an even better work ethic.
If I were to be interviewing for a position and I had 2 equally qualified individuals vying for the same spot, there's no doubt in my mind that I would weigh heavier that individual who has this work ethics certificate. You have to come to me with those skills. Let me add the subject matter expertise in terms of training, and then I have a win-win as an employee.
The process of hiring an applicant is expensive, and training is expensive, but that's an asset. An applicant coming to me with a work ethics certificate easily identifies that they're willing to put the work in for me to train them, as opposed to someone that has gone through the formal training and graduated with that technical degree, but they have a weak soft skill set. Employers are not willing to invest the social commitment to develop that person's social aspect.
The reason why I see real value in the work ethic certification is that the qualities that it measures are not necessarily things that are easy to find in an interview. And what I like about the certification is that it measures it over a long period of time, the period of a year. It's measured by multiple people at the school. This approach gives me a high level of confidence that the person that has the certificate actually has these qualities. If an individual walks through our doors today with a work ethic certificate, I can tell you that we'd be very eager to interview them because people with these qualities are the kinds of people that we're looking for our company.
We're always looking to identify those leaders that show extraordinary characteristics. It's nice when a student comes to campus and we can identify them as a leader. And the work ethics certificate actually shows us that those things have been proven, and I know from my perspective I will definitely make sure that when a student comes here to Ivy Tech, that we help identify those students that hold this type of certificate to really try to pinpoint what their interest would be in getting involved in our campus community.
Many careers today are very specialized. Certain skills, though, like work ethic, are transferable. So whatever you decide to do, whether you change plans mid-education or mid-career, those things are transferable from one field to the other.
Entry-level positions so many times concentrate on tasks, and then we develop an awareness. You're demonstrating, again, that awareness of becoming part of a bigger picture. Because as you demonstrate in the certificate, it's not a one-month program. This is a lifestyle, this is a behavior commitment.
Businesses that are coming to our area are looking for a workforce that are made up of producers. And as a community, we will get the reputation of having a bunch of producers in our community who are willing to work for these good jobs and these good paying jobs. So the more we can do together and relying on folks like you to fill these jobs, the better off we're going to be in bringing these type of companies to the community, because they're going to see that what they're looking for is here.
Not only the talented work of Daniel putting that together, seriously, he does a great job for us, but the content and really letting kids see that. Let's do the present. This is the presentation that we've given to the students, it's kind of exciting for me because what we did is we took the work ethic, the philosophy of the work ethic certification, and we combined it with the PBIS, and board, you're familiar with the positive behavior supports that we've had in place. And last year, towards the end of the year, we came up with Pride, and we're going to use Pride throughout the district. So all of our schools are using this, and you know, we think this will take off throughout the community. We'd like to see little leagues and church groups and all different types of youth groups throughout the community use this Pride and what it stands for: persistence, respectfulness, initiative, dependability, efficiency. You'll see our Pride posters, and you'll see those throughout our buildings, but we put one up on the board. Go ahead, Renee. We'll kind of just click through this, and certainly stop me if you want, but we go through what each letter stands for with each one of the schools. We talk about persistence and how they demonstrate it. And give me just a second, Renee. One of the things is that what they actually do is they sign the work ethic certification sheet that says that they're interested. And one of the things that they do with persistence is the student able to persevere through challenges and problem solving? And there are 3 places for a signature. And what happens is that their teachers have to sign for these students. And what we're going to do is we're going to put these in a locked room, and the teachers are going to come in and say, yeah, I think that Renee has this persistence, and sign off. So it's not like I'm taking it up, putting pressure on you, Mr. Payton, could you sign this for me? You know, that's different. They're going to be in a locked room where people will actually vouch for the kids. So they're going to do that for persistence. They're going to do that for respectfulness. There's a line for that. Part of the respectfulness is community service. And we talk to them about doing 6 hours of community service, and it can be in their buildings, you know, whether it be student council or key club or the different activities that they're involved in. That's, again, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. And I don't know if you saw that, but it was talking about if you need community service, go see Mr. Denny, go see Mrs. Null in the College and Career Center to help with that. So that's another piece of the puzzle that they're helping with us. Another place that teachers will sign off will be teamwork, and that's that students can demonstrate the teamwork, and there's a place for 3 signatures of those. Initiative, same thing. There are 3 signatures, and you guys, I'm going through this pretty quickly, but we take the time to talk about what initiative means, what are the teachers looking for. This is probably a 15, 20, 25-minute presentation. And then the superintendent, he's introduced it with he's got a great introduction to this. So he spends about 10 minutes talking to them about the overall concept, and then Christy Steller has talked about this presentation or this present to everybody. So those are self-starters. That's part of the initiative. Critical thinking is another piece that we identify. We talk about what kind of questions critical thinkers ask. So we talk about what is it like to be a critical thinker there when you're a student. Dependability, we talk about the readiness, reliability, and responsibility. Wait a minute. Go ahead. One of the things that we talk about is their academic readiness and their GPA, and it's anything above a 2.0. And one of the things that we've talked to them is, we talk about the backbone kids, and we talked about that earlier. There are kids that have a 2.1, 2.2 that come to school every day, and they're dependable, and those are the kids you want working on your car, or they're a plumber, or they join the military. But those are the kids that are important. So it's not an elite group of a 3.5 GPA. It's those backbone kids. And I talked to you earlier. This is how we're reaching all of the kids. One of the other things that we talked about is the reliability, and we talked about attendance rate. When it said 98%, that's about 4 days is what it is. Now, it's amazing because we were at a couple of schools and we got a little laughter out of this. And so you're talking to a group of seniors and you say, okay, to get this work ethic certification, you can't miss any more than 4 days. And you get a little laughter. And what it's done is it's been able to create a teachable moment for us and say, there's a disconnect because you might be able to miss 5, 10, 15 days of school and pass your classes. You can't miss 5, 10, 15 days of work. You're going to get fired. So we talk about that, and we've been able to make that a teachable moment. We've also talked about tardies. And when we talk about the attendance rate and the GPA, you'll see why I said if we can get 30% of our seniors, that's what we're shooting for. I told you that was kind of the criteria.
Is the attendance rate excused absent?
That's what they call absent.
Yeah.
I hope you guys don't mind walking there. We armed wrestled one of the students one afternoon at one of the high schools. She threw every possible scenario at us. And what we said is, this is showing that you have an issue, that it is those soft skills, and we work with it. If you get appendicitis and you miss a week, we'll compress that.
Okay.
There are certain situations where we got to use common sense and make it, and we use the term compression. If we have to combine them, we'll do that. What it's not for, we've talked about this a lot, is it's not for that kid that misses Monday and Friday, or every other Monday, or other Friday, takes their long weekend. So we've talked through that with them too. But that's the question we've gotten every place we've been. So we talk about discipline referrals, one or fewer discipline referrals. We give them one shot, because again, talking to them about you can't go out and get a job and get in trouble all the time. We talk to them, we take this opportunity to talk about the drug test, and we talk about a lot of different things about responsibility. The efficiency, we talk about that, and that's one of the last pieces where we get free signatures for the kids. We talk about why would they want the certificate. And he talks about the skills, the soft skills, to give them a competitive edge. One of the things that we are starting to talk about with our group is what can we do for businesses that are partnering with us. We're kind of in the process of working, maybe on some kind of plaque or something, where a business, becoming a business that we're a proud partner of Greater Clark County Schools, and we accept the work ethic certification so that, we'll start getting this out in the partnership. So we're in the process of developing that too, and kind of recognizing those folks. And then what they need to do is go see their counselors, or they can go to God and Career Centers. So, and then we ask them to sign that, turn it to the counselor, and that's a copy.
Do their parents sign it? No. So it's their responsibility.
Their parents aren't going to work. We had the parent nights, the senior parent nights in Charlestown and at Jeff, and we showed this to both groups. We had to hustle down 62, but we made it.
This collection of data, is it only done during the senior year? I know it's only done this time in the senior year.
That's another great question.
I'm just full of it.
You are. What we're going to do this, she said full of it, I just agreed. Somebody's going to get that eventually. This year, piloting with seniors only. Next year, what we've already started talking to the middle school principals and the elementary principals, and we'd like to do it at 5th grade and 8th grade. We're working on this through the PBIS K to 12, but recognizing our 5th graders as they go into middle school with the work ethic certification. Same thing with our 8th graders going in to the high schools, and then culminating with our seniors.
I got another great question.
I'm ready.
Okay. I'm a senior, and by golly, I want one of these, okay? And I know what my grade point average is, and I know my attendance rate, but I don't know about these teachers. Are they going in and saying these things about me in these closed door? How do I know where I stand?
Help me with that a little bit.
Yes, I will. One of the things that
No, that's okay.
one of the things that we talked about is we want our counselors meeting at least twice a year
Right.
with every student. So when they meet with those kids, part of the conversation needs to be, let's talk a little bit about where you might be related to your initiative, your persistence, your respectfulness. So we want our counselors to know our kids. And so we need to have those conversations. When I was a high school principal and we implemented this, there was a kid that was very bright young man, but had a tendency to be a little bit of a smart aleck every once in a while, and thought he was all that in 48 bags of Doritos. And as the high school principal, I had to have some conversations throughout his senior year about that fact, and he never really wanted to pay much attention to me. So at the end of the year, we laid out all these forms in this big room, and our teachers spent 2 days to come in, and they had to get 3 signatures in each of these areas in order to qualify. 3 teachers from 3 adults in the building. Well, that young man could not get 3 signatures from 3 adults in numerous categories. And he was upset because at our senior awards day, when this was a big deal, he was not called up. He did not get a work ethic certificate. And he came in, and I told him, I said, look, haven't I told you ever since I've known you, the kind of kid that you sometimes are, you're a little bit arrogant, you're not respectful to others, have I not told you that? Yes, you've said that. I said, this is what happens. You don't have 3 adults in this building, out of 100 adults in the building, you can't find 3 that are willing to sign off on you. So let that be a lesson learned for you, young man. Now, that's his senior year. Tried to let him know throughout the year where he sort of stood. As Travis mentioned, our goal with our Pride program is that these are going to be skills taught to kids from pre-K all the way on up. And the thing that was amazing, when we talked to all these seniors, I'd say, what does P stand for? And they all knew it. What did R stand for? What did I? They all already knew that. You go to elementary schools, you talk to kids, well, what does that D stand for? They all know it. So they know what the words stand for. As you know, we need to continue to teach. Teach it, reinforce it, so it becomes habit forming. I think, and it's my hope, that the governor of this state will sign off on, help us to produce and sign off on a certificate that these kids will take, that they'll have for the rest of their lives, that they can have to take to whatever that next step is in their life. And the certificate would have an explanation on the back of exactly what it was, so that if I have it, if Mr. Pavey and I go to apply for a job and all else is equal, and I've got the work ethic certificate and he doesn't, that I need to be given consideration for that position. Kerry Stemler, one of the local business individuals, when I talked to him at a meeting, when I brought this up at a meeting, he said, not only would I give you preferential treatment in hiring, I'd also start you at a higher rate of pay. Now, that's the kind of conversation that we need to have. And when we developed Pride, Travis did a really good job of working with our counselors, but we also used our College and Career Readiness Advisory, which you know is a pretty significant group of people as well. And we got some great input from them because we talked about I being integrity from our level, but they, as business leaders, thought initiative was more important. They needed people that could take initiative. And so they're all important. All these concepts are important, but businesses need to buy into this if it's going to have some meat for our kids to earn it. And the thing that's been amazing is across the whole state, the interest level here for what we're trying to get accomplished is, I've not seen anything like it in the time I've been in education. So,
You talked about the state, if a state certificate was developed, and that would be great. And I could see that being, in some ways, almost as, if it's done with fidelity, it could be almost as important as your diploma when you graduate. But getting back to my real question about that, are we going to do anything at our graduations to honor those kids who, either with a ribbon or, I mean, if 30% is our goal, I think we ought to recognize them at graduation.
I think that to recognize them makes perfect sense. At the thought process also would be to provide the actual certificate. And if it's done the way it used to be done when I first started this, it's a really top-notch thing. It's not just a little piece of paper they carry, but we'd award them at their senior awards day with that actual certificate.
Senior awards day.
Yeah.
You know, I think this is great, and to be consistent with what state of Indiana's done, they've got I-STEP, they got I-STEP Plus. So Travis, in a couple of years, we'll have Pride Plus. Take it up a notch and add a little bit to it.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Good work.
Thank you, Mr. Hare. All right, next item is the consent agenda. We have 5 items on tonight. I'd like to take them all together.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Kraft. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Any questions or comments? All in favor? B7-0. Thank you. Mr. Satterley, as always, would you mind doing our gifts to buildings tonight?
Absolutely. Got a list again, $2,500 scattered throughout the district from everyone, from our own Nancy Kraft. She's always a fan of theater, we know that. From Zaxby. So once again, just thank the community for everything they do and make a motion to accept.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Satterley. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Questions, comments?
Second.
Second, right. Mr. Satterley. All right, all in favor? B7-0. Thank you. Next item, we have action items. We have 4. Would like to take 1, 2, and 3 together since their adoption of the budget. Is that doable, Dr. Dykle?
I'm agreeable with you.
Okay.
So moved.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gilkey.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Satterley. Questions, comments? All in favor? All right, thank you. All right, and then the last item is the approval to bid the new bus route.
Yes, we've been experiencing an overflow of bus runs in the Charlestown area, and we've tried everything possible to work it out. We just don't understand why we're getting all these extra students on the buses now. We haven't had a big increase in enrollment in any of the schools, but so what we're going to do is we're asking permission to do a separate contract. It'll be a 4-year contract for an overflow bus, and transportation, especially Ken has already calculated it would be about 32 miles, and we'll bid this out if the board approves it, and then we'll do it for a 4-year bid. So we need help on trying to relieve some of the overcrowding on the buses.
Is it, questions?
Well, we need a motion.
Second.
Ms. Perkins and Mr. Hall, second. Okay.
A 4-year contract, is that needed? Can we not just do a 2-year contract and see what goes on with our county? And
We think it'll be hard for a bus driver to bid if they have to go out and buy a bus on a 2-year contract, so we think a 4-year would be better. And we'll be able to use them somewhere else if we don't need them after 2 years. I'm sure we can go ahead and split some other routes or add another route to them. But we're just thinking of the bus driver to go out and spend money on buying a bus, and we're asking for a 72-passenger bus. We're not asking for a 66-passenger. Everything from here on out will be 72s.
that'd be more feasible than send a corporation-owned bus up there to run that route?
Especially with our high absenteeism rate, we're running mechanics up there to use it. We're running office people to drive buses. The absenteeism rate is really bad. And contracted drivers, if they take a day off, they have to find someone to run their route. And we don't have to worry about finding a sub.
Day off? I never had that.
I was waiting for a comment.
In 30 years, I never had a day off, so okay.
So let me make sure I understand this. This is asking for an overflow, a bus for overflow in the Charlestown area.
Correct.
What happens with that driver and bus if there isn't any overflow?
Oh, there is.
No.
Oh,
I know there is now, But I think this goes back to what you were questioning. I mean, there wasn't last year, and we don't have an increase in enrollment, so something's changed. Either parents are not taking them by car or something.
Well, we would
What
look-
will we use them, can we use them somewhere else, even though it says Charlestown?
We could use them in Charlestown to relieve some of the overcrowding maybe on corporation buses.
But we couldn't bring them down to Parkview.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's something we would look at, see if they'd want it.
Oh, okay.
The problem we have, basically, and Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have a situation where we have a number of buses that are over, well, they're packed.
Yeah.
And this has been something that's been happening all year long so far, and it's not going away. And so the only way, we've tried other options and looked at other things, and we can't find another fix. And so wherever these kids have come from, in a way, we'd rather have them riding buses to our schools than having their parents drive their cars to our schools. So maybe that's part of it, but the bottom line is, we've looked at a lot of alternatives, and we can't find a better one right now. So, and then the financial issue that Tom mentioned is, Mr. Hall, you're right. I mean, it'd be better to have a contract of shorter term, but to find someone willing to buy a bus and pay for a bus that's $100,000, it's usually pretty difficult for something less than a 4-year contract for a contracted driver. So we have looked at many options here. And Ken, am I missing anything there, or would you like to speak up and say anything?
That is correct. We've looked at trying to move stops, from one bus to another bus, but it then increases the mileage for a contract driver, so we end up having to pay that contract driver more. I see this as an ongoing issue in Charlestown.
Okay.
Some of our rural routes may not have as many students on it, but we can't bring that bus into town and say, okay, you pick up these 3 or 4. It's needed.
We just heard today that they had sold 6 houses last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
New houses, so, and that's where the growth is.
And
The Bethany area, the 403 area, and just continues to grow.
Some of the areas you speak about, I know of 2 families, and it might be the economy, where it used to be a 1 work household, now they're both. So maybe one used to drive to school, and now they're both working. The kid needs a bus.
yeah.
Sounds like that. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I remember when we were bidding out contracts and hearing something about you can only have so many routes, bid for so many routes, or do we need to waive that to open it up for these contracted drivers?
I think right now, just adding the 1 route, nobody's at 4 or 5 now. I think most we have is 3.
Okay.
When we look to bid out next year, we may come back to you and say we need to increase it from 5 to say 10, just to cover us. So there may be somebody that really wants to be a fleet owner and have 6 or 7 routes.
Mhm.
So
I just didn't understand the overflow part. I do now, thank you.
All right. Okay, remember, okay, we're ready for vote, right? All right, any further questions? All in favor? Be 7-0. Thank you.
thank you.
All right, discussion items, I don't think we have any of those tonight. Reports, board reports, Mr. Hall?
No, thank you.
Ms. Perkins? Mr. Satterley?
No, thank you.
Ms. Kraft?
Oh, well, now you know I'm going to have something.
I knew you would.
Okay. 3 of us went to the ISBA meeting in Seymour. I have a couple notes if you're interested in my notes, those of you, okay? The new director, Dr. Smith, gave us some things today. This is the budget year for the legislature, so that's an important year for us, and I have some information that I'll pass out on Indiana school formula funding. And he talked again about the $2 billion surplus and our wanting to fund full-day kindergarten, and we needed to lobby for that. And we all said that that was probably a good idea. The cost of living index for schools, we need to be sure that we're getting that. A bonus for schools that have good scores, we're questioning. as the ISBA is doing. Special education should be paid 40%, and they're now paying only 12 to 14%, which is a big difference. And they're talking about putting a voting member on the TIF districts, and we talked about that. More funding for smaller class sizes and more local control, and we all agree with that. So I thought we were all, as this board, were in agreement with most of the things that they were going to lobby for, but I thought you needed to know that. And then I was questioning the disproportionality. Say that twice. And his quote was, because I was concerned about that, because you can get penalized for those kinds of things when things are disproportionately out of focus. Anyway, I thought this was very important because he left us with the one thought: as long as you can show that you have a plan written, then, and it's approved by the school corporation, then you're safe, he said. So we need to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying to make this less and make it more even, but sometimes it's just impossible to get to the goal where you want to be. And he said as long as there's a written plan and it's approved by all of us, then we're okay. And I thought, and that's huge. We needed to know, or I needed to know that for my own self. And that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kraft. Mr. White?
Nothing, thank you.
Ms. Gilkey?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think the next item is public comments on non-agenda items. Mr. McLaughlin, I think you're...
I told,
Oh,
Mr. Markowski that I didn't need to comment. I only kind of back up a little bit what Ms. Kraft said.
okay.
We did all that moving in elections 2 weeks from today.
Yep. All right, thank you. Sorry for that. All right, next item's board comments. So, Mr. Hall?
Just had a great chance on yesterday, to have a walk through Charlestown Middle School. Dr. Mellon and Amy, Kevin, I think that's it. And a couple of great schools in good hands, working well, but we should never schedule an evaluation or a walkthrough the day after a 2-week break. Mark that down, Renee. Never again. Even though everything was fine.
All right, Ms. Perkins?
Thank you.
No? Satterley?
No, I just echo, they were so proud of their food, which, Aaron, you got the email, I think you replied to it. And it was, I thought it was good as it said, but they were apologizing because they didn't have as much fruit. So they sent us a picture the next day of their fruit, of how it's supposed to be and how it normally is. But anyway, they did a really good job with their mark there, so thank you.
All right. Ms. Kraft?
No, thank you.
Mr. White?
No, thank you.
Ms. Gilkey?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right, I don't have anything. Dr. Mellon?
Just a couple of things real quick, Board. Letter grades have not been released. The State Board of Education delayed that until November 5, I think, November 5th, so that we happen to have a board meeting that night. So we'll look forward to presenting those letter grades to you at that point. Wanted to thank, and you've already done so tonight, but Travis with our college and career readiness piece, but there's also a team behind him. You saw Mr. Denny and Mrs. Null tonight, but also you take a look at Erin Bojorquez from a PR perspective. She's part of a career team that's been formed. Jan Estelle, who's our lead guidance counselor, she's on that team. Kelly Granger for the special ed approach to make sure, because all of our special needs kids are part, remember, every child will be accepted to a post-secondary opportunity. So Kelly Granger, one of our special ed supervisors, is on there. And then Christy Steller was not able to be here this evening, but she's been a big help and support with our work ethic program. And so the efforts that whole team are putting forth, I can't be more proud of what they've done and the positives, positive influence and impact that they've made. And then also Daniel, you've noticed Daniel is, our video system that we had in place here really was sort of antiquated, and we had looked at the fact that we either had to spend a lot of money to upgrade this system, or we could ask Daniel to be here. And so we're live streaming over the web, which is a great thing. So we'll continue to get that promoted. And also the quality, as you can tell, Daniel does not do anything without high quality. I'm going to tell you, he's special, and he really is. I could go into stories, but they want to go home, so I'll stop.
They're over here
They want to get out of here.
making themselves look better.
Yeah, yes, live streaming.
not working.
Live, you better look good now.
Not working. Okay, I give up now. I'm just-
So I wanted to
Not that good, Kevin.
So I wanted to thank, Daniel for his efforts in trying to help, those individuals who maybe don't feel they can, or their time is constrained and they can't come to these meetings. We want to make sure the quality is such that they can easily tune in or log in and see it. So thank you, Board, for your continued support of everything we're doing.
All right, thank you, Dr. Mellon. Have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Thank you, Mr. Satterley. All in favor? 7-0. Thank you. Good night.
We had a transition meeting today.